Hi, it's Veronica Ellington. Um, Knowledge about drug addiction to the core. Um, I just wanted to share a little piece. When I was a juvenile, like I said, I had done a lot of crazy things. I was in juvenile detention and from running away from home and not doing the right thing. I stayed on probation for a long time, and it kept keeping me sick and suffering because when you're on probation, you got to do right so you can learn how to live in society the right way. And when I went to the big jail, it didn't hit me. It didn't hit me as in, because like I said, I was in juvenile, and when I turned 18, they gave me a cake and said, okay, you got to go. Kind of like with the drug addiction. I don't know why I got sent to jail because there was some people that turned 18, they got to stay and do their sentence, and then they got out. But I had to go, when I turned 18, they gave me a cake, and I had to go straight to jail. I didn't have any adult charges, but I don't know how that happened, but it was just crazy. Um, but later on, when I was 16, I started doing drugs pretty heavy. I went to a rehab, I think it was in Fredericksburg, and as a juvenile. And the last day that I was getting ready to graduate, the next day I was going to graduate, I left the day before with a girl and our boyfriends, and we went to Florida. And when we got there, my boyfriend got locked up because his mom called the cops. We didn't have no gas money, nothing, or whatever. So it was with my friend and her boyfriend, and so we stayed down there. Me and her drifted apart. So I ended up staying with this young lady. She's probably in her mid 50s, and she helped me. She helped me, have somewhere to stay, and I got hooked on weed even harder because she made sure that I had weed every day. She hooked me up with this guy. He was much older than me, and we were doing things. And it just it went downhill from there. After a little while, my friend that I went down there with got locked up. The girl that wanted me to go with her, and then after that, one day before, like couple weeks before I got locked up, she was smoking something, and she said, "Have you ever tried this before?" And I was like, "No." And so it was crack. And so I tried it, and I was hooked from there. The next day, I was missing in action. I didn't even come home that night. I was with somebody that had a lot of crack, and we were just smoking it and doing things together. And so later on, I got locked up in Florida, Cali, Florida, and went to a juvenile, and then they shipped me on a plane back to where I live, and it was just downhill from there. I got back on probation because I got locked up, and after that, um, what was I gonna say? After that, it just progressed. Um, like I said, I had stole a car, and I stole my parents' car, my sister's car, and I just kept getting in trouble. But I finally got on a program called Dual Track. That was a downfall for me too. I kept getting on probation and coming up dirty, and then they would lock me up. Because I told you when I turned 18, they put me in the big jail with no adult charges at all. Um, so it was new to me that I had to go through, you know, being a juvenile and having adult charges, which I didn't have any adult charges. They just kind of gave me the shit end of the stick. But I'm really excited about being clean now. I'm excited because I get to spend time with my children. I'm back in my children's life, and I'm back in my niece and nephew's life. And I'm trying to be a good mother, sister, daughter, to try to improve myself. Because I don't want to do drugs anymore. It seemed like it was just a chore. You know, getting high because I didn't enjoy it anymore. I didn't enjoy being high, and it was just a chore, something that I did to maintain my highness. Um, it wasn't good. It was not healthy, and I want to be a better person today. You know, if anybody's struggling with drug addiction, you know, you're not alone. You know, people have the same disease, famous, not famous, have the same. The drug of addiction is a disease. It's a disease that keeps you sick and suffering. And, my ex husband and my best friend aren't here anymore because they chose to do drugs and they chose to overdose. They didn't choose to overdose. They did too much and they overdosed. So my best friend and my ex husband aren't here with me today. I didn't take that too well, and I started self medicating again. And you know, that's just how it is in a nutshell. And I want to be a better person for people to see that, I was in the active addiction, but I got better. Because I recently went to a rehab called Boxwood Recovery Center in Culpeper, Virginia, and that really opened my eyes. It told me about endorphins in your brain, what happens when you get high, what happens to the endorphins in your brain, how it like fries your brain when you're doing crack or heroin, whatever your drug of choice is. Um, and I just want the message to tell people that you're not alone and you don't have to go through this by yourself. You can get into Narcotics Anonymous. If you have bipolar or schizoaffective disorder, or bipolar or schizophrenia, you can go to a mental health place and they will help you. They'll help you deal with your addiction, and they'll help you deal with your disorder, your mental healthness. Some people do drugs and they don't have bipolar. I'm not saying that everybody does, but I'm saying that people that have a mental illness and drug addiction, you need to go to something like that, because I do. I go to a mental health program where I live, and it helps me a lot. I'm gonna start some one-on-one counseling. I'm just making goals for myself, and I want young children or people that have a drug addiction to listen to what I'm saying. I'm living proof that you can change yourself. I'm living proof that you can be a better person. I'm living proof that you don't have to lie anymore. And I know my husband and my ex-husband and my best friend passed away, but you know what? They're not sick and suffering anymore. They're in a better place. They don't have to go through, turmoil with their life. It was just about my juvenile years. When I went to boot camp, because I had been in group home, boot camp, you name it, I was in it. And I went to juvenile prison, and when I went to juvenile prison, they gave me an offer. They said you can go to boot camp for 6 months and you won't be locked up for a year and a half. So I took it. One accomplishment I had in boot camp was I wrote a letter about my life and about the turmoil that I went through, and they published it in the Cambridge newspaper, the actual paper that people looked at. And so that was an accomplishment I made, but I still didn't do the right thing. I stayed on probation for a long time, because the only reason why I stayed on probation for a long time is because it went from me being in juvenile going to jail, and I had no charges as an adult, but I ended up going to jail, and that kept me stuck, because I was always on probation. I went to dual track, for a program called dual track, and that just made it hard for me because I kept getting dirty urines and they locked me up. The only reason they lock you up is because they want you to stay clean and get something out of the program. But I'm gonna stop rambling on. I'll share more about my piece with me getting older and getting into drugs. Till next time, knowledge about addiction to the core.